Hey, we're glad to see you. We're talking about strategic planning and a discovery process and the transition process with from now until our new pastor. I'm Pastor Neal, and this is Dave Teeter, who's on our strategic planning committee. Just to give you a little bit of background, we had a strategic planning team that did a 5-year plan really about 5 years ago, and they did an amazing job. And in a couple weeks, on October 23rd, we're going to have a discovery process that I will lead, and as many people in the congregation as can participate is what we would like. The session approved that, and it's a process that helps us see where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. And then we have a new strategic training team or strategic planning team, and Dave Teeter is a member of that. So Dave, why don't you introduce yourself and explain how those three things, the old team, the discovery process, and the new strategic planning team, how those things all dovetail.
Thank you, Pastor Neal. My name is Dave Teeter. I have been a part of this church for about 30 years and look forward to the next 30 that we have going on. There have been several of us within the Strategic Planning Committee and others in the church who have been talking to us a little bit about strategic planning and the discovery process that Pastor Neal described. And in order to make sure that we have a kind of a clear pathway as a group, as a church, several of us put our heads together and came up with kind of a corny little diagram that may help us as we think about the activities that are going to be coming on in the future. What our corny little diagram is all about is kind of looking back at what had gone on in the church with the 5 big moves. And some of the activities on the 5 big moves have been very visible to those in the church, and some of them have not matured as some of us may have thought at one time. But all of us have certainly been thinking about the 5 big moves and how does that evolve into our future. Along the way, several of us, as I said, on the Strategic Planning Committee have started doing some thinking and some preliminary work about what strategic planning is all about for the church. And as we thought about that, as we visited about it, it became very clear to us that some of the activities and things that we were going to do as a strategic planning committee dovetailed very closely with some of the activities that Pastor Neal has been talking about in the discovery process. So we thought it was prudent that we would take those 3 ideas of our thinking about the big 5 moves, the strategic planning committee's work, and Pastor Neal's leadership in the discovery process, kind of put all of those things into the hopper, if you will. And so our corny little diagram shows us, shows those thoughts and those ideas and activities going through the discovery process. And out of that, we have little packets of information that are developed, and we put them into a bucket that we call the church goals. And Pastor Neal will be able to tell you more about that discovery process as we go through it. But we think in the Strategic Planning Committee that the church goals that we as a group identify kind of have dual purposes. One of those is to, of course, help us with the pastor selection process that will be ongoing in the months to come. But those church goals also become the basis for our strategic planning committee to put together the objectives and activities that we will undertake as a church in the next year or so. And of course, we'll look at those as we move along with the idea that our new pastor, when that time comes, will also be a participant with us in that process. Some of the things we've thought about is that this strategic plan would be, of course, a statement of those goals, a written statement of it, and some objectives to help us meet those goals, and some activities that we as a church will undertake to meet those. And I tried to get away with the idea that Pastor Neal would do all of this, but that didn't go so well. So we do have to make a determination that we have to determine who's going to do what and when and to what degree. So when we get all of that work done, we hope to have a strategic plan that will help guide us as we do God's work.
Thank you, Dave. Wow, that's so clear. And so I just want to say that these processes, the discovery process that I'll be leading on October 23rd, hope as many people in the church can participate as possible. And like I say, you'll hear more about that. And the things that the strategic planning of the past and the future and the current one, they are dovetailed. They work perfectly to do those two things that Dave described. One is develop strategic goals, but secondly, to help the pastor nominating committee, the search committee, look for the right kind of pastor. We won't know what kind of pastor we want until we know where we're going as a church. And so if you are interested in being on the strategic or on the pastor nominating committee, the search committee, we have a nominating committee that'll be choosing those people. But one thing they have said is that you need to be a part of the October 23rd event, the Discovery Process event. Anyone who wants to be on that search committee, and whether you want to be on it or not, I sure hope you'll be a part of that. So you've got session, strategic planning, your interim pastor, all coordinating and working together to help move us forward. So Dave, thanks for this, and we won't belabor it. We're going to wrap it up here. So thanks so much.